Okay, I guess I'll get started now. Hi, welcome everyone. I am Jill Rendelstein from JR Writing Advantage, and I specialize in helping students write distinctive college admissions essays that get them noticed. Today, I'm going to give you some secrets to writing successful college admissions essays. So let's get started. You may want to here, we'll talk about the workshop objectives first, and I'll let you know that you're going to need a pen and paper pretty soon. So if you have that available, that'd be great. You can run and get that now if you want. You also can use the computer, but not for, there's one part where you can't use the computer. So for the workshop objectives today, we're going to talk about myths surrounding the college essays, what makes a college essay successful, and then I'll give you a few tips and a couple of exercises on focusing your topic. And then we'll have a Q&A as well. So when we do the couple of exercises, I may call on a couple of people to share what they wrote. I hope that's okay. If you are okay with it, I would love you to turn your camera on when you are volunteering your information, or at any time. That would be great. Okay, let's see. Okay, so now is one of the times I'm going to ask you to write something real quick. I'm going to have you please name 3 elements of a college admissions essay that you know about. Maybe you haven't heard anything at all. Maybe this is your first time hearing anything about college admissions essays. But what do you think, if you don't know anything at all, what do you think goes into a college admissions essay? So just jot that down real quick, maybe just 3 elements that you think might go into it, and 3 that you've heard of that go into it. Okay, and I'm going to give you about just 2 minutes, it shouldn't take too long, to write that down. And if you have a question, let me know if you don't understand what to do right now. So again, for anybody just joining, we are writing down 3 elements of a college admissions essay. What do you think, or have you heard about college admissions essays that you think go into an essay? There's something in the chat. I'm going to read. You write this in the chat? You can. You can write it in the chat if you want. I can also call on you in a moment when we're done, but feel free to write it in the chat too. Thank you, Jonathan. Personal story. Oh, okay, you're writing it. Okay. All right, I'm just going to give everybody that 2 minutes. Write whatever you can write it in the chat, or you can answer me when I ask if someone wants to read out loud. I'm just going to give you another couple of minutes. Oh, I like what I'm seeing so far. Okay, I'll give you one more minute. All right, thank you for everyone participating so much in this chat. First, I'm going to ask and see if anybody wants to read them out loud. If you do, please just give a shout out, holler, and I will call on you. Anybody interested, go ahead and unmute yourself. Oh, I can't hear you. Is it Jonathan Frias? Okay, go ahead, Jonathan. Oh, here, we can't hear you. Here.
I can't say anything.
I can hear you now. I can hear you now. Okay, go ahead.
I can't say anything because there's something else going on with my father in another meeting.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you were I thought you were asking to be unmuted. Okay. Okay. Anybody else interested in reading out loud? Go ahead and say something so I can hear you because I can't see everybody. Go ahead. Is that somebody?
I was trying to say, like, the college essay seems like it's about tying yourself to that college. Like, they never met you and they're trying like to admit you to that college. So it's about like showing yourself, being like telling what makes you different, your strengths and your goals for the future.
Okay, very nice, very nice. What are your strengths? What are your goals? I like that. I like what I really like about what she said, and I couldn't see who said it, unfortunately, but thank you so much for volunteering, is showing yourself to the college. I like that a lot. Anyone else want to read it out loud? And then I'll go to the chat if I don't hear from anybody else.
I put down highlighting the breadth of your life experiences so you appear as a sophisticated individual to the college.
Okay, thank you very much. Breadth of life, I like that, interesting. Okay, very good. Anyone else want to say anything else before I go to the chat? Read some of those.
I wrote that you need language skills and you need sort of like a way to show it to them. Like you need a specific way to show it to them that will catch their eye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, catching their eye sounds really good. All right, I'm going to read a few that are in the chat. Someone says a personal story. Yes, you should definitely write something about yourself. Events that define you or had a profound effect on you. That's a good one. And being unique. Okay, I like that. Unique is good. Being personal, saying something different about yourself. Overcoming a hardship, good. Has to be about you and something you went through, I think. Yes, it should be about you, exactly. A lot of, sometimes I get essays from students that are writing about world events or, things that are kind of really outside of their own zone. And really what the colleges want to hear is about you. I'll read a couple more and then I'm going to go to my notes. How you grew, I like that one, really good. Any skills or talents? Sure, you can talk about what you're good at. Showing your true self and strengths. Good, nice one. Make it personal. Okay, about your dream, life story. There are a lot of interesting ones here. Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to go now to the myths, and then we're going to talk about what does make it a success. So some of the myths are that students should only write about their activities, and that's just not true. You can really write about anything at all. It's, almost. I mean, there's a few things here and there. I'd say, yeah, let's stay away from that. But generally, you can really write about everything and anything that you can think of. And I'm gonna give you some examples of those things in a few minutes. Another myth is that students should discuss their GPA and SAT scores. You do not need to list your activities, your GPA, your SAT. The schools are going to get all of that information when they see your score. They're going to be sent the scores, they're going to be sent your GPA, they'll have your activities. So you don't need to really talk about that, kind of list those things and get them in there. You don't have to worry about that. Students shouldn't write about a hardship. I've had students who've been worried about, writing about anxiety or something else that's depression or something tough that happened to them. It is okay to write about a hardship, but it's really a good idea to talk about how you got through it, how you came out the other side, and how you became, kind of different from that experience. So not just about having anxiety or being depressed, but how you overcame that situation. Another myth is that students should never write about cliche topics such as sports or instruments. Well, in a perfect world, we would all have incredible experiences to write about. You're going to laugh at the one I show you next that may or may not be real, but in a perfect world, we would all have that. But unfortunately, we don't. And some of us have just had kind of, the nice high school experience, playing sports, playing an instrument, doing kind of fun things. And that's okay to write about those things. But you need to write it in a way that only you could write it. Okay, so it can't be in a cliche way. It has to be kind of in a unique way that only you could write it, and we'll talk about that. Okay, and I'm going to take questions at the end, so you know. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you what are the key elements of a college admissions essay. You guys touched on some of them, and they were really nice. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to say is that it's a slice of life that really can't be viewed through the transcript or the test score. It's just a small slice, something that you can show them about yourself. I'll get to the next one. I'll tell you. What works best when describing one focused experience, and this again could be unique or not. I said the first one you're going to laugh at, a trip to the moon, right? If we all had an experience like this, I went to the moon last week. It was incredible. There was a lot of cheese there. A lot of my students love cheese. If we all had an experience like that, we could write about it. But we don't all have that. So that's okay. We can find how we are unique, what we can write about that's distinctive in our own experiences. It also really it depends on the angle that you write it. So I'll talk more about that as well. The next couple here, the few I have on here, one is a sleepover party, a favorite pair of sneakers. Wow, who heard of that? Playing an instrument, playing a sport, or overcoming a hardship. Yep, those things too. So the sleepover party, I once had a student who felt like she had, known these friends for her whole life, and they were always sleeping over in somebody's basement and having a great time together and growing up together. So she ended up writing a focused experience about the last night, that they had the sleepover together before they were all going to go to college, and how she grew from that experience. The favorite pair of sneakers can be, again, something that really shows who you are. Do these sneakers show who you are? Maybe. Playing an instrument. I once had a student write about how she played the Chinese zither. Now that is a unique instrument, but that's okay if you don't have that. She wrote about how the instrument, how it felt to play it, and how her family felt when she played it, how it took them all back, her mom and her grandma, how it took them back to when they were younger and when they lived in China. And it kind of really brought them all back to that place and thinking about that. And it was really lovely. The Yale admissions officer called and said he loved her essay. So it was really special, even though it was about such a mundane thing as an instrument that everybody plays. Playing a sport, right? You can talk about that, even if it's just, again, something everybody has. But if you can do it in a unique way. Let's say I once had someone who was a field hockey captain, and he did not like his team, and he was on the losing team. And so that was kind of a unique angle on that. It wasn't just about how they overcame that situation, but how did he overcome all these other parts of it? I once had someone who was a champion ice dancer, which does seem unique, but it could become mundane or cliche if she just talked about how it was difficult and how she overcame that situation, right? What made it special was that she talked about a different angle. She used a different angle. She said that it was dangerous, that sometimes her partner would drop her on the ice if he was angry with her. Sometimes the other gals in the ice rink would check her, as if she were playing ice hockey. And how she had to become physically fit and strong to overcome these things. And then overcoming a hardship. I've had, all kinds of things, especially last year, after everybody went through COVID, I've had, as I said, depression or anxiety, or somebody visiting a crisis center. I've had someone who had heard about or seen someone being killed in a convenience store right across the street from him. All kinds of really tough things. Now, again, you can write about those things if you write about how you overcame them. How did you get through it, right? So it's not just about, I have anxiety, but how do I deal with that anxiety? Am I going to be able to, get to school and be a college student? They want to make sure you can be a college student. So you're going to be okay when you get there. So you don't need to specifically say that, but just kind of showing them that you're going to be able to do that. After you kind of think about your topic or writing your topic, you have to reflect on how the experience has helped you grow. And I think somebody talked about that in the chat, right? What did it do for you? You can't just write about it. If you just write the story, it's like a great short story. But what makes the difference, makes it an essay, is how you reflect on that experience, and it helps you grow. Also, illustrating your values, right? What do you value in life, and how can you show it to them? Do you value your family? Do you want to write about your family and what a special family you have? And that will show what your values are. I have a lot of students last year who wrote about, especially in the district area of, district DC Metro, a lot of students last year writing about how they feel as if they're from two different worlds. They have parents who are from China and Italy, or who are black and white, or who, just all kinds of combinations. And they wrote about those things and what they value in that situation. Finally, it's about leveraging an authentic voice and allowing readers a peek inside your world. Don't be afraid to use your voice, to sound like yourself. Somebody mentioned that you really should sound, sophisticated. You really need to sound like yourself, but there's levels. There's like the formal level of you're talking to your principal. There's the medium level, talking to your teacher, and then maybe there's informal, where you're talking to a friend. And maybe you want to sound kind of like you're talking to a teacher, maybe that middle tier. You want to sound like you. If you're sounding like you sounds like you're talking to the principal all the time, great. But you don't want to just throw in those big SAT words if they don't match the rest of your essay, okay? All right, so let's go to the next topic there. This one's going to be about finding a focus, or finding or focusing a topic, sorry. And so you might have heard of brainstorming before. I'm sure you all have. And a lot of you maybe have kind of left it behind, or you don't use it anymore. But it actually is so helpful in so many situations. I'm going to show you a picture of how I like to brainstorm in a moment. And with brainstorming, you can start with generalities if you need to. You could start at the very basic level, and then kind of move into the specific as needed, okay? This will then help you find your focus. All right, let's go to my brainstorming exercise. Okay, and I have here, very simply, this is one of the brainstorms that I use when I work with my students. And one is just putting your name in the middle of your brainstorm there. And I like to do it this way with the bubbles and kind of the spider webby feel, because it's a little bit messy. This is neat because it's done on the computer. But normally I do it on a piece of paper, and it's a little bit messier, and it kind of lets you get back to the feel of a pen and paper, and that it's okay to be messy in this part of the process, and that you kind of connect with your younger self when you first learned to read and write, and you didn't have anxiety surrounding it. So a lot of people worry when they sit down to write, oh, what am I going to write? What am I going to do? I don't know. Well, here, this is the way forward. So here's what I wrote for mine. These are some of the things that define me. Exercise, I'm a writer, I'm a writing coach, I'm a mom, I love to travel, cook, I can be funny, and I'm a new pet owner of a dog named Charlie, and at one point a bird we rescued named Peeps. So all of these could be, have a lot of potential for being an interesting topic. And so I could keep going with it. I could have, 10 more on here if I wanted. And I can also then take these general ones and turn them into more specific ones, which I'll get to after, okay? But for now, I would like you guys to use your pen and paper now that you have with you, and please make your own brainstorm, okay? And put your name in the middle. Go ahead and draw that. Put your name in the middle. And then just maybe have 10 prongs if you can, and fill them up with what would you say defines you? What would your friends say? What would your teachers say if they asked you? or if you ask them, what defines me? Who do you think I am? What do you think, is it that you always see me with my dog? Is it that you always see me with a tennis racket in my hand? Am I fun? What is it that defines me? Okay, so go ahead. I'm going to give you a couple minutes for that. And then I'm going to ask if you'll share. Okay, how about 2 more minutes for this? And when you're brainstorming, just do it kind of quickly. First thing that pops off the top of your mind. Okay. Go ahead and just finish up your last bubble if you're writing it. And let's hear a few. And we got a couple of volunteers to read your bubbles, to read your brainstorm. Jonathan, you want to answer now?
Sure. I got a few things. I just got to be quieter. So, interested in music. I like singing. Interested in animals. I'm Brazilian American. I can be silly. I can be serious, understanding. Have an active imagination. Into psychology, design, art, stories, writing, video games, horror, music in general, art, and I also own 4 parakeets. I'm a pet owner too. And I'm thinking about like doing a course of psychology and mental health in college, as well as maybe like digital art or designing or 3D modeling, stuff like that.
All right, great. Thank you so much. That's great. I can hear those parakeets. Very nice. Yeah, I heard of some really good ones in there. The silly I'm curious about, the psychology, what else? There's the pet owner, just really some really good stuff in there. And the next step he can do is, if he has a very general ideas about these things, is do another brainstorm, do a few more brainstorms, do 3 or 4, right? Take the ones that you think are most interesting, maybe 3, circle those and say, I'm going to do 3 more brainstorms just on these topics and see what comes up. How specific can I get? Can I get to a specific instance when I was silly? Or maybe I'm just talking about, general ideas about it. And then after that, I'll do another brainstorm figuring out where my specific instances, right? But remember, you can write about anything, but it has to be, reflective. It has to show values, so it has to have your authentic voice, right? So we can do those things, but if we find, oh, silly's just not cutting it, maybe I'll work on one of these other ones, right? Then that's okay too. All right, so let's hear it. So let's someone else, let me give a shout so we know you're there. Let's hear a couple more.
I have some.
Okay, go ahead. Can you tell us your name or first name or anything?
Yeah, Abel Muse.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
I put a video/photo editing. Musicians, I play the saxophone, guitar, and piano. I'm a writer, mainly like reviewer kind of thing with like music and movies and stuff like that. I play and watch like a lot of movies and games, and I goof off a lot with my friends.
Okay, great. I love it. Those are great. That's the other one I forgot for Jonathan, was about the video games. I have had students write about playing video games and how they have affected their lives, and it's kind of interesting. So you can do a lot with that as well. I love some of the ones you said. Adele, I can't remember how to say your name. Video, photo editing, how you play lots of different instruments, that you're a writer, reviewer. So you have some really interesting attributes there to write about, some different really, kind of cool activities. So again, you can take one of those or 3 of those and kind of make some new brainstorms and say, where can I go with this? Is there anything here? Is there anything further I can say about, what would I say about video editing in another brainstorm, but just by itself, right? Okay, great. How about, let's have one or 2 more. Let me see what time it is. Okay, let's have one more. Anybody? Bueller? Are you all too young for that?
No.
You're not? Okay, great.
Nah, I get that.
Okay, well, let's hear your brainstorm.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
So I'm a military kid. I really like history and government and politics. I'm an actor. I'm really into theater. I really like listening to music. I really like the arts, and I like spending time with my friends.
Okay, fabulous. Military, that's very interesting. I'm sure you've had to move around a lot. You could definitely write about that, and that's a little bit different. That you like history, what is it about history that you like? How does it affect your life? The actor in the theater, that's a fun one. Some of these could be made into, as I said, I talked about that it works best that I have seen. It works best when you take a moment in time and write about that. The moment in time could be, stretched over a little bit of time, but if you can, one moment is really particularly works well because you are new writers. And it is hard to kind of take a big topic and take a big, large amount of time and really say only this much about it, right? Really hard to figure out what to put in there. So if you kind of narrow it down to really specific, you will have a much easier time figuring out what to say and how to get it in there. And telling it as a story is really a wonderful way to do it. It's not the only way. I have had students do other ways, but I really recommend doing it that way. Okay, so let's move on. Now we're going to move on to, let's say that you decided, I think I'm going to go with 3 of these and decide from here if I have anything more to say about any of these, and then, or I've done some more brainstorming and I'm going to write about them now. Or I'm going to try writing first and then I'll do more brainstorming if I have something. Okay, so this is called, I'm sure you've all done this before as well, free writing, or I also like to call it zero drafting, which means sometimes people think they're writing their first draft when they're actually writing a zero draft. Okay, so it's the same thing as free writing. So maybe you've heard it in different contexts. And what I want you to do now is to write, let's see how much time we have. I'm going to ask you to try to write, usually I would say write 3 short free writes. So like if you have a piece of paper, you can cut the paper into 3. If you want to do it on your computer, go ahead, a couple minutes on each one to really, this much if you're writing in a book. And then we'll try to read a couple of them and we'll get to questions. But basically I asked for 3, but it can be any amount. You can write, 10 of these if you want. However many you need to figure out, is there anything to this topic? Do I have anything else to say about it? Do I have anything to say about it at all, right? So what a free write is, or zero draft, is writing with stream of consciousness, if you haven't heard it before. Not worrying about grammar or punctuation, how it looks, how it sounds, if it's organized. It's almost like, or it is like a meditation, if you've ever done that, where thoughts kind of flow in and out. And if the point is to keep writing, to keep your pen on the page or your fingers on the keyboard. I prefer to do a lot of free writing on paper if possible, but you can do it either way. And to keep moving, and even when you have nothing to say, that you can say, I have nothing to say, I have nothing to say. I wish I were eating a cheeseburger right now, or I wish I were having an Impossible Burger, whatever it is that you like. And just to keep going and bring yourself back to the moment as soon as you can, okay? So they're going to be, we don't have time for 3, but we'll try 2 short free writes, and I'll just tell you when to stop for the second one. So go ahead and start your first one, pick something from your brainstorm, and go ahead and just write freely about it, okay? And I'll let you know when to stop and get to the second one. You have 1 more minute for this one. All right, let's see. Does anyone need more time? Does anyone need 1 more minute? Yes, you can combine 3 ideas. Somebody wrote that in the chat. You need 1 more minute? Okay, I'll give 1 more minute. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to ask a couple of you to be very brave. And we get 2 very brave souls, or at least let's start with 1 very brave soul to read his or her essay. Not essay, sorry. Free write.
I think I can go.
Thank you, brave soul. Could you read, just say your name?
Oh, Fiona.
Okay, Fiona, go ahead.
Okay. From school system to culture and the language, when I came here to the U.S. in my freshman year of high school, everything was different and shocking. I had a huge culture shock, and looking back at it now, it must have been very surprising that it made me shock myself and heart to people. Family and people I knew keep telling me that I instantly went from a very outgoing and extroverted child to a very introverted person, as if someone clicked a button. But because I had to keep going and make use of my parents' sacrifice to bring me here for a better future, I made a deal with myself that I will face every hardship no matter what, no matter how hard it is and challenging it can be, and just move forward.
Okay, Fiona, thank you so much. That's a good one, really good topic. I can hear your voice in there. I hear your distinctive experience. I'll tell you a story that when I first started teaching, I had a class full of ESL students mostly, all from different countries, and they all wrote about a turning point moment in their lives. And every single one of them wrote about coming to America. And don't you know that every single essay was completely different than the next. And they were all, wonderful and unique and have, authentic voices. So that's really what makes the difference. And we could really hear Fiona's voice and her, kind of interesting story that she came from another place and how she dealt with it. So I think you have a good one there, but you can try some other ones as well and see. You also may have several essays to write, so you can work on some of those as well. Thank you so much. Can we get 1 more person?
May I?
Sure, go ahead.
I know I volunteered quite a few times, but
No, that's okay.
I have a lot of things to express.
Okay.
I am mostly a very creative person, and I like to imagine fantasy stories with characters that I have created. And I also like seeing the creativity that other artists have also published around the years in the form of video games, movies, comics, books, visual novels, all those kinds of things. But when it comes to tediousness, I feel like a zombie that's died twice, and I usually find that feeling in things like businesses and sports. Well, hockey being an exception as long as I'm playing the sport. But I'm more like a blank slate. I have a lot of potential to do many things is how I see myself. And I feel like as long as it's something creative, something that I can get something new out of, I feel like I can do really well on that subject.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Really lots to say. You have a lot of interests and a lot of things to talk about. So I would say to take one of those or take a few of those and rate maybe separate free writes about them and see, or do different brainstorms first if you want, and see where they might go, right? First, you were talking about that you like to make up worlds. You have this great imagination. And I would love to see where that goes by itself, kind of just, is that an essay by itself? I don't know. Is there enough, information? Could you talk about the worlds that you make up, that you create? Could that be your moment in time, right? So I would try to, if possible, stay, I'm not saying never. It can work in lots of situations, but I generally say stay away from kind of talking about lots of different things and focus in as much as you can on the one thing. But you can always, try different things, explore, right? And keep exploring and see where that takes you. Does anyone else want to read? Oh, I see more students tried to join, but your Zoom is capped at 100. Oh, I don't know how to change that, but maybe they can watch the video.
Can I go?
What's that?
Can I go?
Can you go?
Yeah, can I read mine?
Oh, sure. Go ahead. I thought you meant leave.
That's okay. It's all right.
That's
all right. All right. Before the COVID pandemic, I found myself being less open to trying new things or expressing myself because I was a lot more like insecure back then. I still kind of am now. But back then I was like really insecure about like my interests because I was afraid of being judged or made fun of or like being called childish or something, stuff like that. So I was a lot less expressive before the COVID pandemic. But during the COVID pandemic, there wasn't a lot of interactions. Everyone was like, in their house, not really interacting a lot. So I was a lot more like alone than usual. So I kind of decided to like be more open to revisiting stuff from my like childhood, for example, stuff that I was interested in, and like seeing how it held up to this day, like comparing my past to the present. That was something that interested me even before the COVID pandemic, but especially now it's something that really interests me. And I feel more comfortable talking about it now because of how interested I am in it. And also realizing the experiences that other people went through as well.
Okay. Is that what you wrote or were you explaining?
That's what I wrote. I was kind of paraphrasing a little bit, but that's what I wrote.
Okay. So in going back to those things. So, okay, great. Thank you so much. So I would say that I would do some more possible brainstorming, and you can always do definitely more free writing, but to think about what are those things that you went back to and describe those things. Go into detail about those things instead of kind of just talking about them or talking around them. Go into what those things are and how they affected you as a child and how they affected you now going back to them, right? So it sounds interesting, looking back now and seeing, do those same things, give me the same feeling, effect that I had before when I was a child, right? Okay, thank you so much. All right, so I don't think we'll have time for another free write. So if anyone else wants to read one more, and then I can say a few more things, and then we can have some questions. Anyone else like to read one? Okay, while we're waiting for someone, I will see if I can go to my Zoom real quick and see if I can let anybody, if I can, people can come back in for questions. Let's see. Oh, there it was. If you bear with me. That is not it. Kate, if you have any information about how to let anybody else in.
Don't worry about it, Jill, at this point. We had this problem once during the year when we did a non-MCPS with our college advisory committee. So it's not a big deal because it's being recorded. So it's just going to get posted and sent. I'll post it on the website and it'll be sent to all of the other schools.
Okay. I just thought if they wanted to come in for questions, but they may not even be there anymore. Okay. No problem. Okay. So going once, going twice, going 3 times for any other any other free writes. Okay. All right, so so the next step is if you have your 3 and you say, I think that one of these looks really promising, or 2 of them, I'm going to choose one of them, maybe, or 2, and continue writing for 10 more minutes, maybe longer, however long it takes to kind of get to where I need to go, right? So which means let yourself go. Get into the writing zone and don't worry again about what it sounds like, how it's organized. Don't worry where it goes. Let the writing take you wherever it's going to take you. And you'll be, amazed to see the journey you'll go on with your writing if you kind of let it go. Let it, go for 10 minutes. Go for more than 10 minutes if you can. Okay, so choose those ideas and then circle topics and ideas that you think could be something, right? So when you look through your free writes as if you're mining, as if you're in a gold mine, you're looking through all the different rocks, but then you find some beautiful gems, you find some gold. This idea will work, this idea might work, I'm going to pluck them out and I'm going to see if I can use them. Sometimes you have to do more free writing to think about it, to think about the topic. Sometimes you need to do another couple of brainstorms. How can I keep focusing it down to make it more specific, right? And then you'll find your focus. You'll see what is my special angle on this that nobody else has, that only I have, right? And so that's it, basically, for finding your topic. Try some more brainstorming if you need it. Go from the general to the specific. Do as many as you need to do. Try 3 short free writes. Try 10 short free writes if you need it. And then pick some of those and go for a longer time with it. And really just let yourself go and have fun. Okay? Repeat if necessary. I didn't find my topic. I did all these free writes. I did all these brainstorms. And I still didn't find my topic. Oh my God. Miss Rendelstein did not know what she's talking about. Repeat the process. Repeat it again and again if you need to. And you will definitely find it. Okay? So I'm going to take questions in a minute. Again, thank you so much for joining me today. You can contact me in these various ways if you would like to schedule some sessions with me. And I can help take you through the rest of the paper if needed. Please let's see, there are a few questions in the chat. I'll start with those and then you guys can just shout out some more questions. I saw some. Do most universities ask very specific essay questions versus open topic type? Well, so many colleges take the Common App, and they also may have supplements. And then some universities do not take the Common App, and they have their own major essay, and they have their own supplements. So they may ask very specific questions, and some of them are more open. But the Common App, what I love about the Common App is it is taken by a lot of schools, most schools, and usually the last question, usually I think it's the first and the last, are very open-ended, and you can pretty much write whatever you want. And so I always pretty much say, choose that one because it will, you can really write whatever you want. You can frame it however you want. What they're there for is really just to help you, give you some ideas. Let's see, someone else. Can I write about several topics but they connect to a similar theme or message? I will never say never. And I would say try it out. You know, if it can all connect, maybe it can be really something cool, something unique. But if you see that it's really not connecting or it's kind of going all over the place, you know, give it to somebody to read, even if it's in its infancy, you know, even if it's just a free, you know, you're just done a free writes and they think that it could be something, or they think, you know, this is really just a pile of different ideas that are not going to work together. So certainly absolutely give it a try. Let's see what else. Can I write about, oh, same thing. Okay, let's see 4 more messages. I'm in early college at the moment. Do you have any tips regarding that experience and how to use that in a college essay? Is that like when you're going to Montgomery College at the same time, taking those classes? Who wrote that one? SH, I don't know. I'm not sure what early college is, if that's what I'm thinking of. Kate, do you know? Yes, we all take our classes at MC. Okay. I would say the same goes for you as everyone else. If you feel like that was a unique experience and it was really kind of cool or different, just, you know, taking these classes and experiencing, having these college experiences early, then write about that. But if you feel like, you know, and it's certainly that should not just be your, you know, talking about how hard it was or your resume, but finding an interesting angle about it. If it's not that exciting and, you know, you have other things to talk about, and talk about those things. You know, same thing, whatever is in your wheelhouse that is going to be exciting. Wouldn't overcoming challenges be an interesting topic for readers? Absolutely. Overcoming challenges is an interesting topic, but it can become trite or cliche. As I said before, if you're writing about, oh, I overcame, you know, I worked really hard on my sports, fill it in. I didn't really want to do it at first, and my parents made me do it, and I worked really hard, and I achieved my goal, and I also really liked it in the end. That's kind of like, here's what I learned at summer camp, right, at the end. So you don't want it to sound cliche or trite. You want it to sound unique to your experience, right? So maybe you overcame something, but tell it to us in a different way, or tell us a different part of overcoming something that other people might not have overcome, or really put it again in your authentic voice that, you know, sounds like nobody else. If I feel like I got a general essay here that the guy next door could have written also, then you need to go back to the drawing board, right? We had some, Fiona wrote earlier what she wrote. She's overcoming a challenge of coming to a new country, right? But she's writing it in an authentic voice that's only the way that she could write it. And so she's going to be very successful with that if she keeps that up, okay? Okay, does anyone want to say any questions out loud?
Yeah, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Someone might have asked a question similar to this, but for my free writes, I have like 2 different topics that I combined into one, which are fairly similar. Like they arise from like a similar like circumstance, I guess. Like for example, the free write I wrote about, it was like how I was revisiting stuff from my childhood, like nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
But I also wrote about how I was getting more interested in like topics such as like math, science, history, and other things, and like specific elements of those topics that I wasn't really that was kind of hard for me to talk about with other people. And also like video games, movies, like stuff that was kind of hard for me to talk about with other people because I was afraid of being perceived in a way I wouldn't like. So kind of like similar reasons for why I wasn't, I didn't like talking about them, but how I'm more comfortable with it now. It's like similar like circumstances.
So what's your question? I'm not sure what the question is.
like if I have like two topics which like they're kind of similar, like the circumstances in which like they arise in are like similar, but they talk about two different things. It's like comparing the Aztecs and Incas in a way.
So you want to use them both in one essay, as you're saying?
Yeah, I was asking like, should I separate them into two separate essays, or should I combine them? That's my question.
That is okay. Got it. Thank you. That is something you have to find out by writing. So almost every day, students say, they sit there and they're thinking, and I say, just write it, right? So just writing what you're thinking about will help you figure out if this is going to work, right? Will my two topics fit together, or will they, do they need to be separate topics that could go into a supplemental essay, right? So the only way to find out is to write it, okay? All right, thank you. Let's see, there's another one in the chat. Regardless of the topic, what should the main focus of the essay be? Like, should it be focused on our growth as a person, or like how our topic shapes us as a person? Well, you have the kind of the outer layer of the essay, the frame, which is the story that happens, the physical story that pulls us along. Like if you're reading a book or watching a movie, what's the plot, right? And then in the midst of that, let's find out how this experience helped you grow, and what the value is of the experience, right? So really think about it as your first thing is that you're writing a story, and then you're looking at that story and reflecting on it, okay? So it's not just kind of throwing in there a lot of things. This is how I grew, this is my value, but having those things come out more subtly in the story and telling us your insights throughout, okay? And I hope that answers that one. What else? A couple more before we get going?
Jill, I want to say something that I heard from an admissions rep that I thought was
Sure.
kind of valuable. So they said to these students, if you were in a room of friends who all knew you, let's say you were in a room of 50 people and they all knew you pretty well, and you dropped your essay on the floor and you did not have your name on it, they should be able to pick up that essay and know that you wrote it. So it's really got to be your authentic voice. And I thought that was very valuable information.
That is a good one. I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a couple. Should you show your past, present, and future self? No, not necessarily. It's really kind of about what is this essay about? Is it about the present and something you just learned last week? Is it about the past and something you learned in the past and how it's affecting your present? Or is it something that you feel will happen to you in the future and you want to tell a futuristic story about yourself, and then reflecting on that, right? So you always have to still reflect on whatever it is that you write. Okay. Right. Any other questions before we finish up?
I had a question.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if like you were writing your essay and then there were certain paragraphs that you really like and you like certain parts of your essay, but then there are parts that you just don't find as interesting or as attention grabbing as your other aspects of your essay. What do you recommend doing to make those other boring or less interesting parts more interesting?
Cut them down. So if you think they're boring, imagine how the reader's going to feel after reading hundreds of essays, right? Your essay is going to go, at the bottom of the pile instead of where it should be at the top, right? So right now, more than ever, since the SAT is optional at some places, more than ever, that essay is so important, and it can help really keep you in the pile, move you up the pile, right? What they're looking for is a way to cut you and get you off that pile so they can make their day shorter and go home. So it's hard. It's hard for them. They have a lot of wonderful students to choose from. And the essay is one way to, distinguish yourself. So if you think that the parts are lagging, if the parts are slow, cut them down and make them more succinct, right? And think about how, what do I really need to say here that is so important? What's the most important part of it? Okay. Let's see. I'll answer a couple more. my Zoom. Oh, yes, there will be a recording. Yep. There will be a link sent out rather of the recording. In including values, should we mention why we are choosing to major in the major we chose? Only if your topic is specifically about that. And I would, as I said, I would kind of maybe stay away from that if it's not particularly interesting and exciting, if you have something special to say about it. If you're just talking about why you chose your major, unless that's a specific question, some schools have questions like that, then you can talk about your major the whole time. But otherwise, I would say if there's not something really particularly interesting about why you want to talk about it, and how you want to get it onto the page, in what way will you talk about it, then I would say you probably should stick with something else. Can you talk about how some people had an impact in your life? Absolutely. You can talk about a hero or, just somebody who has an impact in general. That's a lovely story you can tell. How long should the essay be? The Common App is like 650, but some schools might say, write a supplemental essay. They might tell you how long or they might not. So I'd say, probably about the same length as the, stick to around the Common App because they don't want to read something that's 10 pages long. Okay, and read one more here. How big of a deal are the essays in comparison to the other parts of college admissions? I don't have specific numbers. Maybe Kate does, but missheld. But
I'm sorry. So because many schools are still test optional, the essay actually is very, very important. So, you think of your application sort of as a puzzle. So every time you take a piece of that puzzle gets taken away, it's a little harder to identify what the picture on the puzzle is. So if you're not submitting a test score, then your essay is going to have to make up for that. Okay, so number one is definitely your transcript, not your GPA and your weighted GPA, but your actual transcript. Okay, that's the most important thing. And then letters of recommendation and essays are next. So it is a very important piece. It gives them an idea as to whether or not you will be a good fit on their college campus.
Right, thank you, Kate.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's really, I don't have the exact, as I said, I don't have the exact numbers, but it is, as Ms. Held said, a really important piece, especially now with the colleges, with the SAT being optional. It is one way for them to see, as I said, the slice of life that is not going to be shown in your SAT or in your transcript. And it is hard for them to choose with so many students who are also brilliant, have amazing activities, incredible test scores, fantastic GPAs, and they still can be turned down. It just boggles my mind, the stories I hear, because you need that something special to help you stand out. So yeah, the essay can be pretty important at this point. Okay, so I'm gonna probably stop here. Thank you so much for coming. As I said, please visit my website if you like, and or give me a shout, give me a call, and I would love to talk to you guys more about essays.
Thank you so much. This has been really, really helpful.
You're welcome. Great. Thanks for coming, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
See ya. Have a fantabulous day.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.